Oh, that is definitely better. You can't beat a bit of coffee to lift the energy levels up. And it has been a busy day with channel stuff, and I think my eyeballs have gone a bit square staring at a computer screen all day editing. Not that I'm complaining, because I love that whole editing process. You know, you've got all that footage you filmed earlier all jumbled up, and you start to go through and select the clips you want to use and pull them all together. You add a bit of music and a bit of Run4Adventure magic, and you see that video forming in front of your very own eyes. I'd say it's quite similar to sort of doing a jigsaw. You know, you've got all those pieces jumbled up and you start picking out the edges and the corners, you start piecing it together and you see that image come alive. And it has been known that I love a good jigsaw. In fact, if I see a jigsaw puzzle and I start putting pieces in, I cannot leave it alone until it's finished. But we are not done for the day. We have got some running and some filming to do. So I'm going to sit back for a while, enjoy the coffee, and then I'm going to be getting changed, grabbing the cameras, and we are going myth busting. Welcome back, folks. I'm Lloyd Purvis and this is Run4Adventure. You join me out in some stunning weather as I just head out onto the trails in hail. The plan today was to get in the van, drive up the coast a bit and show you a new section of trails that I run on. Unfortunately, the day has really caught up with me, so I had a really busy day in the studio, but a productive day, finishing off our Speedgoat 5 full in-depth review. We've had a lot of guys asking for that full in-depth review, so I wanted to get it finished and get it on the channel as soon as possible. Obviously, you'll be watching this after we've put that review up, so if you haven't seen it, it's definitely worth checking out because I've been really impressed with that trail running shoe. So what I'll do is I'll leave a link in the description so you can check it out. So over the 10 years of working in the running industry and now having the channel, obviously I get asked a lot of running related questions, and what that's made me realise is there's lots of running myths out there that aren't exactly true. And you know, these are things that I wish I had known when I first started out on my running journey. So what we plan to do today is go through the most popular myths and the things that we get asked about all the time on the channel. So the first myth we're going to discuss is all about cushioning in running shoes, and this is something I get asked all the time on the channel, and I used to get asked it all the time in store as well. Get people saying, I want a cushion running shoe that's going to take the impact out of my running. You know, I'm suffering with worn out knees. I want to get some deep cushioning in my shoes to take that impact away. And unfortunately, guys, this is a myth. Don't get me wrong, a deeply cushioned shoe, I run in them all the time. It might make you feel like you're taking some of that impact away and you're running softer, but no shoe can do that. You know, cushioned running shoes, they aren't magic, and that impact has to go through the body somewhere. I think the best way of trying to explain it is, say, obviously, I hope this never happens, but say you fall over and break your leg, obviously you'd be in a lot of pain and discomfort. If you then took some painkillers or you got put on gas and air, you wouldn't be feeling that pain as much anymore, but obviously your leg would still be broken. And that's similar to what sort of deep cushioning does in running shoes. So there's been a lot of studies done that, you know, with the loss of connection, proprioception and ground feel you have with deep cushioning, that you can actually be putting a lot more impact through your joints than you would without it. Where that cushioning really helps is when it comes to muscle impact, so muscle fatigue. So again, lots of studies show that having that deep level of cushioning, it takes some strain away from your muscle groups, so it really helps with fatigue. I personally don't think that this makes deeply cushioned running shoes a bad thing. You know, I run in lots of them on the road and on the trails and have done for lots of years, but I think it's really important, if you do have a lot of cushioning under your foot, to think about how you're running. So think about your posture, think about your form, think about how your foot's striking. Are you loading in an efficient manner on a nice midfoot? You know, the last thing you want to do is chuck on a load of cushioning in your shoes and then stomp along on your heels, because that isn't efficient and it's going to be putting a lot of strain on other parts of the body. So I'm afraid to say, guys, that deeply cushioned running shoes, they're not magic, and that impact has to go through your body. Moving on to myth number 2, and I get asked the question all the time, you know, I'm running in a heavily structured road running shoe because I overpronate and I need that support. Could would you recommend a good structured trail running shoe for me? And the honest answer is I can't really do that, because most trail running shoes are actually neutral in their structure level because of the environment you're running in. You know, don't get me wrong, if we compared, say, ASICS Gel Trabuco to Hoka's Eva Jaws, you know, the ASICS shoe is going to be a lot stiffer, a lot more rigid at the midfoot, have a lot more substance, and the Hoka shoe is going to be a lot more flexible with less support and structure. But in theory, they are still both neutral running shoes. You know, the road is a very hard and repetitious environment to run in. So if you do overpronate and you haven't got that support and structure in your shoes, then you're going to be overpronating on every foot strike, and the body really doesn't like an aggressive repetitive motion. Whereas the trails, like we are this evening, the ground is undulating, it's a lot softer. So the trail environment is just a lot more forgiving on the body. If you think about it, all those years ago when we were hunter-gatherers, we weren't running after our food on hard, repetitive tarmac roads. We were out on the trails. So our body's kind of designed better to handle this environment, and it doesn't work so well on the road. So don't worry, if you run on the road in a heavily structured shoe, it doesn't mean you have to find a trail running shoe with the same level of support, because at the end of the day, the trails are a lot more forgiving, and it's where we're meant to run. If you're quite new to the world of running, I would definitely recommend a book called Born to Run. It goes into the history of running, how the human body is set up to run on the trails and barefoot running, all that kind of stuff. So definitely recommend reading through that book. I read it and it inspired me in the early days of my running. And actually, speaking of running, let's go and do some. I had to stop just for a second just to show you this stunning view. It's an incredible evening out here on the Towns. We've got the sun going down, we've got some nice sea mist out there, and it's half term, so all the people down here on holiday are getting some incredible weather. So the next thing isn't really a myth, but I do get asked this a lot in the comments on the channel. So I'll put a review up of a shoe, might be a road shoe, might be a trail shoe, and then lots of questions asking, you know, would this shoe be good enough for me to run a marathon in or to run an ultra marathon in? And that really is an impossible question to answer, because like most things when it comes to running, it is super personal. And you know, a shoe, when it comes to cushioning, heel offset, structure, all them things, for me it might be perfect to run a marathon in or an ultra marathon in, but again, it might not work out for you. I think a perfect example of this is good friend and training partner Steve Wyatt ran the whole of the Arc of Attrition in a pair of Hoka Evo Jaws. And if you know that shoe, it is super stripped back when it comes to padding and structure. And he never took it off his feet, the whole 100 miles in it, and he was fine. And that's something I could never ever think of doing. I love that shoe, I love running in it, but I could probably get 20 miles, maybe stretch it to a marathon, and then I'd be done. So I need a lot more sort of cushioning, protection and substance in my shoes when I'm running distance. So when it comes down to whether a running shoe is going to be okay for you to run a marathon or run an ultra marathon on the trails, it really does come down to just good old-fashioned trial and error. You have to try it to see if it's going to work for you. It's great to ask questions and listen to other people's advice, and I love you guys asking me questions. Don't stop asking questions and I'll always get back and answer them. But you really have to get it on your feet and give it a try to see if it's going to work out for you. Right, the fourth myth to be busted is all about marathon training, and I'm hearing and seeing this more and more often these days. I see a lot of training programs out there that are recommended, you know, running 5-6 times a week, even if you're a beginner and it's your first marathon, and I don't fully think that is correct. And you know, some people can't fit that into their busy lives and it gets them worried. Even if you're chasing, say, a marathon PB, a good for age time, or you're trying to break sub 5 hours for the first time, I really don't think you necessarily need to be running 5 or 6 times a week. Obviously, like everything in the world of running, it is super personal, but I think you can run a good marathon time off just 3 runs a week. Obviously, if you're gonna do this, you need to make those quality sessions. So, perfect example, out on Tuesday, you're gonna go out for a nice leg loosener, sort of 6, 7, 8 miles. Come Thursday, that's gonna be a structured session. So you might do intervals, tempo, sort of 8 to 9 miles, and then come the weekend, Sunday, that's going to be your long run day. But don't just go out there and run a long run and not really give it a lot of thought. Try and work some structure into that long run day. So you might go out and you might run the last 6 or 7 miles at predicted marathon pace. You might start with a nice warm up, then work in a nice bit of structure in the middle of that run, then have a nice cool down. So make sure that you get the most out of that long run at the weekend. For years and years, I trained for road marathons off just 3 runs a week, and I managed to get down to a sub 3 hour marathon time off that volume of training. I just made sure they were all quality sessions that I was doing. So I was sort of getting a good bang for my buck. So don't worry guys, if you can't fit in 5 or 6 runs a week and you want to train for your first marathon, or you're pushing for a good marathon time, you can really have a great day out at a marathon, run strong, cross that finish line with a big smile on your face off just 3 runs a week. It's so beautiful up here this evening. We're just going to crack on with the last myth to be busted. And it's all about, you know, if you're a road runner training for road races, you don't just have to train on the hard repetitive stuff. And, you know, there's no problem with sort of mixing it up a bit in your training and getting out on the trails as well. Don't get me wrong, obviously you need to work some road running into your training to condition the body, but you might also get some benefits from getting out and hitting the trails. Now, I know it's very easy for me to say, living in Cornwall, and I've got all these amazing trails on my doorstep, so it's very easy for me to mix my training up between road and trail. But, you know, even if you live in a city, maybe there's a few parks you can run around, because I think it's really beneficial to keep your training as varied as possible, and it really helps out your running. So getting on the trails, it's a lot less repetitive, it's softer ground than the road, so your body's getting a bit of respite, plus you're going to build lots of strength. So all them muscle groups are working when you're running on uneven ground, and you'll work muscles that you'd never work while you're running on the road. And 3, it's great for running form and running efficiency, and you know, all those things are going to benefit you when you get back out and you hit those road races. So basically what I'm saying is, don't be afraid to mix your training up. Even if you are an out and out road runner training for road races, then it's good to get out on the trails and do some training there. I think the perfect example of this is, you know, some of the best road runners, road marathon runners in the world are Kenyans and Ethiopians, and they pretty much do all of their training on the trails. So my theory is, if it's good enough for them, then it's definitely good enough for me. There you have it, our 5 running myths busted. But again, look at this epic sunset that I've got in the background. I'm going to be running sort of 6, 7 miles today, so I've got another 3 miles to do, so I'm going to start to make my way home. We have made it back to the start of the run, and it's pretty gloomy now. Not sure I need the sunglasses. It's getting pretty late. It's been a busy, long but great day for the channel. The sun is going down and I definitely need to get home and have some dinner, that's for sure. But yeah, really hope you've enjoyed the running myths video. Slightly different content for the channel compared to our sort of race day videos and our running kit reviews, but yeah, really hope you found it helpful, and maybe it's put your mind at rest when it comes to all those running myths out there. I know I probably worried about everything for my first 2 years of running, and worried about things that I really didn't need to worry about. So I hope you found it helpful. If you have, guys, you know what to do. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Come along and join the Run4Adventure family. We would love to have you. Don't forget you can follow us on our other social media platforms, whether it be Instagram, Facebook or Strava. But for now, guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for your support. It is amazing and we really appreciate it. And as always, stay safe and keep on running. Oh, I almost forgot, a little bonus myth busted for you. There's rumours on the channel that there is a super cool bespoke Run4Adventure running cap coming to the merch store soon, and all I can say about that is you're going to have to watch this space. But yeah, see you soon, guys.